Hi, and welcome back to Bowls with the Bard. My name is Cakes, I am your host. This week we are over the moon excited to bring you our first pair of Shakespearean ladies. Their names are Kate Manfrey and Liz Dangerfield. Liz fell in love with Shakespeare her senior year of college while studying under her favorite professor and mentor, John Basil, who wrote the book Willpower. She then studied at Guildhall University under Patsy Rosenberg, and she earned her MFA in classical acting from the Academy for Classical Acting. Some of her favorite roles include Helena, Hamlet, and Sylvius, and she was last seen in a production of Shakespeare in Love, created by the Cincinnati Playhouse and Baltimore Center Stage in a co-production. Kate began her career as a Shakespearean scholar at age 10 by performing solo recitations of A Midsummer Night's Dream in her living room to an audience of no one. Since those humble beginnings, she has studied Shakespeare at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts and earned her MFA in classical acting. She works as an actor and as a teaching artist here in the DC area. You can catch her next month in the titular role of Imogen with Pointless Theatre Company. It's an adaptation of Cymbeline for the Women's Voices Theatre Festival. And now, without too much ado about nothing, we give you Kate and Liz.
Okay, so our favorite play is The Winter's Tale, which we have bonded over.
Yeah, we do bond over this.
What is your favorite?
As You Like It.
Yeah.
That's up there for me. I love it. And you've done it.
I have done it. I played
I'm
Sylvius. And Charles, it was an all-female version. But yeah, so we were in teacher training, and then we were like, hi, and then Kate Facebook messaged me and was like, hi, do you want to be my friend? And I said, yes, I do want to be your friend.
I invited her to go see Romeo and Juliet with me at Shakespeare Theatre because they told us to for work. So it was I was hiding under this.
But she just wanted a friend.
I'm saying because we have to for work. Fully asking somebody out. It was really beautiful to read.
We read really beautiful.
The first messages we exchanged. Then Liz responds all in caps. Yes, here's my number.
Come away. Deaf and inside Cyprus, let me be laid. Fly away.
So, question.
Yes.
For both of you. What experience got each of you to love Shakespeare?
Do you want to start?
I think you should go first.
Okay. So, when I was in middle school, they had a program for kids who just really liked language arts class. Where instead of going to jam a couple of days a week, we'd get to go to this special class on some ante room off the library that was called Extended Learning Program, ELP, and we did creative writing, and we read short stories and all this stuff, and we kind of started discussing high school level literature, and then we read Shakespeare. So our teacher, this amazing woman, I was in 5th grade when I started this program. I did it for 5th, 6th, and 7th grade. Great. And it was she would look at the calendar, because she was bound by no curriculum. So she would look at the calendar and see what plays were happening at the theaters in Concord, New Hampshire, or Boston. The two large cities in between. I'm from New Hampshire, it's a small town, and she would pick a show or two depending on what was coming, and teach all. So this was all grades were reading the same. So it was just depended on what year you did it, not what grade you were in. All the kids in that year went to go see these shows, and you'd read the play out loud in class. She would just bring in scripts, and we would those Folgers. We'd have these
the classics,
and
the best.
So in 5th grade we did Midsummer and Merchant. So we'd read the play aloud as a class, acting it out kind of, all just cold reading. She would bring in little costume pieces.
That's
so
so
you'd get her
great.
and it was for 45 minutes a couple times a week.
That's
it must
so
take us forever.
wonderful.
And we would act these plays out, and then we'd stop and we'd talk about them as we went. It was I remember just feeling very free and very chill, and it was amazing. And and then we'd get to go see the play. So then we'd
wow.
we would have like really gotten this play like inside and out, learned all the characters, really examined the relationships, and then we'd get to go see like this crazy interpretation of it. And that was amazing.
Yeah.
And I will never forget that experience. I had it was 3 years we got to do it, and it demystified Shakespeare for me. In no way was it hard or boring. It was like 100% fun and fascinating. And like I mean I'm a nerd. I love to read and I love language, and I was always like that, but like this was next level. I was like really into it. So I just was never scared of it, and I always loved it, and I was like, this is, I mean, and I always knew I wanted to be an actor because my mom is an actress and a theater teacher, so I was like in the theater already. I was like, that's what I'm going to do, and I was like, well, Shakespeare's the best.
Yeah.
So I've been very into it since then. That's just been
That's such a perfect introduction. Like that's so,
really,
especially
like,
at that age.
Yeah.
Like it made sure you knew what you were seeing when you saw it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's all you need to do. And
Yeah.
I mean, it takes, and I honestly I just don't think like either teachers like I don't think that it's that they don't care. It's just like when you're bound by a curriculum and you have to teach this like play, if you can't take the kids to go see it immediately after, like that hook, that cycle was really good. So like I love it when I go in to teach these workshops for STC and we're in these high schools and like,
because they all get to.
they get a pre-show workshop by one of us before we come, and really we're there to like, every class is different. Some classes have not read the play. They have no idea what they're seeing. They're just going on a field trip. Some classes are like...
Some of them are doing scenes from the play.
Yeah, some of them are like studying it dramatically. Some of them are like doing it for English class. And so we go in and we like do some stuff with them to like teach them about the plot. Mm-hmm. So it's like always really nice to see the classes that have like really studied and examined. So then we get to talk about like...
And they're so excited to see it. It's really cool.
That's a really nice thing to see.
Yeah.
Oh. What's yours?
What was the question?
What experience got you to like Shakespeare?
Oh, okay. Well, I got into Shakespeare fairly later. I think honestly, high school, we read Hamlet, and I think we watched one of but I never like, it was just taught so poorly. Mm-hmm. That it was not in any way, shape, or form exciting. It was fully confusing. I fully didn't understand what was going on. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really care. And I was, I was doing, the school plays and everything at that point. And, like, I didn't necessarily know I wanted to be an actor yet, but I was, like, definitely very, like, theatrically inclined. But I still, like, it just felt so boring and, like, not relevant to my life at all.
Yeah.
And then I went to college, and it wasn't until my senior year, my BFA program was all Shakespeare. The acting classes. And my teacher, who became like my mentor, he's this guy named John Basil. He's amazing. Shout out, John. And he wrote this amazing book called Willpower. And he studied under John Barton, who was an amazing...
Did he playing Shakespeare?
Playing Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Right?
I've heard that name.
I think it's playing Shakespeare.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's playing Shakespeare.
I think you're right.
It's one of he's an amazing theater teacher. Anyway, so I specifically remember we walked into class on like the first day of acting class senior year, and I was excited, but I was also like, I thought I was like, I don't know if I'm smart enough to like deal with classical, text. And we walked in, and the room was set up. He was playing this like clown music as we walked in. It was like so fucking weird. And then we walked in, and there was this like mini obstacle course set up. And as we came in, he handed us each a line from random plays, and he was like, "Go run around, like go play, and say the line. Just go play and say the line." And it was so fucking cool. And I was like, "This is pretty." And of course, you're in acting school, and you're like, teachers are treating you like shit, and your soul's being ripped apart. And so to come into this class and it'd be like, "Hey, do this weird obstacle course and say a line of poetry." You're like, "All right, okay." Anyway, long story short, he like opened my eyes to everything, and I completely fell in love with it. And it was because he's all about like really using the language to physicalize and to like really make it super, super relevant. And so from then he was the one that told me about the ACA, and then I just started doing Shakespeare nonstop, and then I wound up going to grad school. So.
Wow. That's really cool. If you could play a character, cross or regendered, who would it be and why?
We've been talking about this.
Yeah. I know my
Yeah.
answer. I want to be Romeo.
Ooh.
So I have this dream for to one day do a production of Romeo and Juliet where the gender of Romeo and Juliet is swapped, but it's also it's not like it's a boy playing a woman and a girl playing him. They're just the character of Romeo is female and the character of Juliet is male, and so it's to watch teen love in just with a different dynamic that hopefully will start to be more familiar.
Yeah.
Where the girl is the free independent one with the friends who's also gets really, I think that story definitely gets told, but I think it'd be fun to do Romeo and Juliet that way. So I want to be Romeo. In that production, I would love to be Romeo.
In that production.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's really hard. I love playing men. I've played a few men, and I love doing, it's so hard. I mean, there's so, Lear would be, bananas. Macbeth. Yeah, I don't know that I can narrow down one. I want to play them all. I would love to do any of them.
There are so many
such
great
a
ones.
good, tragic hero.
Thank you, I think so
I just
too.
really think about, I've seen Liz act, and
I would love to do a Richard II.
I just would, love to see
love to
that
do Richard
energy, and I think it would be so fun.
Thank you.
All right, well,
Well, let's make
I'll
it.
donate to your Kickstarter.
Great,
for that
thank you. I really
production.
appreciate that.
I'll support you.
What has been the best or worst production you've ever seen?
We were literally just talking about
Okay,
this.
great. Do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll start. Okay.
Yes.
So this was tough. But the worst Shakespeare production I've ever seen was it was Henry V, and it was at a bar in New York, in Brooklyn. And it was they wanted it to be immersive, as if Falstaff was sort of telling this story, which fine, cool idea, set it in a bar, sure, why not? Seems interesting. But it was the kind of thing where, the audience would come down and you could tell that the actors and the whole shtick was the actors would come in and you would have no idea who was the audience would come in.
And who's a plan.
Yeah, who's an actor and who's not, you would have no idea. And so that was the whole thing. But we, the audience started coming in and it was, you could pick out the actors because they were all they were just trying to be really cool, obviously drinking water, trying to be cool, being do you want to come sit by me? There's an open seat. I'm okay. And it was just horrible. It was literally. It was pretend. Yeah, who the fuck says that? It was so weird. And and it was just really terribly acted, and obviously nobody had invested any sort of time in any sort of voice work or how do you speak in verse or there was nothing. It was really bad.
That's tough.
Oh god.
Worst production of Shakespeare that I've ever seen. I forgot about this until just now when we started this conversation. When I went to NYU for my undergrad and I worked at the theater, the Skirball Center for the Performing Arts in New York. It's a great space, this beautiful 800-seat theater. So it was rental, and the rental for a month and a half was the Labyrinth Theater Company's production of Othello, starring Philip Seymour Hoffman and John Ortiz, the co-artist directors of Labyrinth Theater Company as Iago and Othello, and Jessica Chastain just before she got famous as Desdemona.
That's amazing.
And it was directed by this guy Peter Sellers, who's this avant-garde opera director. And they stripped the stage bare, and the set was just a bed made out of 45 televisions in the middle of the stage, and a couple folding chairs, metal folding chairs. So okay, they sold out for 23 performances. The show was 4.5 hours long.
No!
And there was one intermission.
No!
At 2.5 hours into the play.
No!
So I just want you to know, I was a house manager and an usher, and we were all, the house staff was it's NYU students, people who just freshly graduated, and then our boss, who's an adult man in the world. And we are People were walking out, throwing these public theater subscribers, like ripping out their headpieces. Like, I don't know what this is, but it's not Shakespeare. Like these old people. The public asked us to start counting how many people left in intermission, and it was like hundreds, like 300 people. Because intermission was a full length of a play. Like it was insane. So and they would just talk so slow in the show. And except for Rodrigo, because he was like always on coke, and it was it was because it was so long, and we all had to be like we'd be in the theater, so we were like posted at the doors, and we'd have to cycle in and out because it was like nobody, honestly, and most of us were theater people, like we were acting students. We were just like, I cannot sit through this again for another 15 minutes, like. So we would like take super short shifts so that nobody had to be in there for very long. And when you gave us tickets to like Yankees playoffs because of this, because it went on it was so insane. And the bathroom doors kept breaking because everyone was trying to use the bathroom at that intermission. Like the entire theater went to use the stuff you don't think about. All these celebrities came. It was so weird. It was insane. But that production was so bad. Like it was just a bad.
That's so upsetting too. That it was like it should have been. Yeah.
It Philip Seymour Hoffman. Like these people, and Philip Seymour Hoffman's costume was just a Kelly green sweater. And like I think Jessica Chastain exclusively wore a nightgown, and it just was like fully insane. And it was just like
so upsetting.
And this weird I just happened to see it so many times. That's why it was so bad.
It's so upsetting.
Oh god.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible.
Alright, so last question I'm going to ask is, if you could give one piece of advice to someone who's just starting a career in Shakespeare, what would that be?
We talked about this.
We did talk about
this.
We
have the same answer.
Well, one of our shared answers is that we as a unit hate when people say like, if you think you can do anything else, go and do that. I think that's such bullshit.
Oh yeah, that like general acting advice.
I fucking hate that because in order to be an actor, in order to be a good actor, you should be interested in billions of other things. You should be fascinated in what the experience of like being a doctor is, or like a fucking like yoga master, like you know what I mean, like you should like definitely. That is what being an actor is. So I hate that piece of advice. So like that is something that like
we are not saying.
We are not saying.
We are not saying.
I think that the most take training, like as much training as you're able to get, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to invest thousands of dollars in a training program if you don't think that's for you, or if that's not what you're able to do. But it's stuff like if you're in a play and there's older veteran actors, like take a fucking notebook to rehearsal and engage them in conversation, and at a break write down what they say, and like you learn so much by watching and by doing. So I think really investing in your education, and that is encompassed in like watching and learning from other people who you're around.
I think it's just so the difference I see in when people know what they're saying and don't know what they're saying. I think that's like because there are books. And honestly, like it took a lot of school and a lot of talking to other people to be like, oh, what are the books? Like, what are the couple things I should do if I want to like know what this sentence means? I think that that's like part of it is just like knowing what you're saying. That's like a very specific to Shakespeare.
I agree. I feel like you can always tell when somebody doesn't. When
right.
The audience.
Yeah.
Then you don't understand.
Right. Well, because I might know the play, but like I don't know what every line means. So it's like I need help sometimes. I don't know. I just like it's joyful. It is a joyful way of making theater. I don't know. Like so, Liz participated in the Taffety Punk bootleg this summer. Cool. And this was really the first time I'd ever seen it. And I think what they did was so amazing because it was a history play, which is I think a great format for what they do, which is like
part cool.
Yes, Henry VI part 2.
Two.
It was 2. But what was amazing is they have like 40 people in it. So there is a person for every part.
Oh, wow.
And everybody, like, so you see different faces saying all the, like, weird, because there's so many, like, always, like, townspeople and just, like, random people in all of these history plays. So it's, like, that format was really nice because there were, like, all these different voices on stage. And, like, it was so thrown together, but histories are also, like, you're just describing the thing that's happening in front of you, like...
Yeah,
People
I remember that when we had all the signs. So like we would do stuff like because it was so ridiculous and there's so many names for the speech that that York gives, where it's literally just like here's a family lineage lesson, and that's like literally just what he's describing. And so all of us had like signs with names of people, and we were just like, and you know that's.
Well, yeah, I just thought that way of like throwing together and they do it on the day. They rehearse, you know, it's like that way of like all these different ideas, all these different like. Fun, silly. I mean, and the story got told, and the acting was great, and like the parts that like should be moving in that play were like it was not a sacrifice to, but I think that there is such a fun thing about like that kind of piecemeal way of making theater that was the practice of the time.
Yeah, for sure.
And so like to just try to capture that joy somehow, you know, and like. It's something that I feel like I'm only learning how to do, but like to try to really capture that spirit, it's fun.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
It's not boring. I like it's so sad when people are like, I think Shakespeare's boring.
I know.
I'm like,
well, that means they saw bad production,
yeah,
which is or
I mean, maybe like this medium is not free, but I don't know.
Right,
I just think that there is something that's so. Like remarkable about the whole thing, and I just always feel sad whenever anybody has like a negative opinion.
Yeah.
Like, I think it could be a very beautiful.
Yeah.
Like I think it could be something that you really enjoyed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I don't know. It's interesting. I never know what to say in those conversations. I'm like,
it's like you're
it's
wrong.
Like somebody fundamentally disagrees with my political beliefs, and I'm not going to tell them that they're wrong. But I just want to be like.
But you're wrong.
Yeah, but like I see that that's your experience, and like I respect you. You should be able to like freely. Like, whatever, but like, pardon me, you're wrong.
But I just think
you
you
know?
need to see it better.
Yeah.
Or like have a better teacher
I know.
or something.
Yeah.
And I know that that's bad. I know that that's not great.
Can't help it.
Like a little bit. It's like somebody told me they're a Trump supporter, and I'm like,
Are those from Teresa Spencer?
They are.
Okay. You know how I know that? That's so. That is so funny.
oh, because they were.
I live in Teresa. So Teresa Spencer just moved.
Yes.
And I took her spot, and I saw her post those, and I was like, "Why didn't you leave them for me?" That's so funny. Are you friends with her?
No, she posted in Ladies Theater Salon.
Yes,
and
I
I
I
was
remember
like,
seeing that. Yeah.
I'll take those.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Theater Salon. Huge shout out to Ladies
I've been
Theater
looking at the
Salon.
huge shout out to Ladies Theater Salon.
United us.
Jenna Burke, God bless.
Love it.
Yes.
Love
Yes.
it.
Love
Yeah,
the salon.
this was how we got. I'm
Yeah.
so so glad you posted this.
Yeah.
What a gift.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really love to close this one out. Just dedicated to the ladies.
Yeah.
Dedicated to
Ladies
the
Theater
salon.
It's
Yeah.
the best. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like us on Facebook at Bowls with the Bard, subscribe to us on YouTube at Bowls with the Bard, and follow us on Instagram at Stone Shakespeare. Next week, Kate and Liz will be bringing you their pitch, and it has to do with space. So please tune in. Thanks, guys.
1,000 sighs to save. Oh, lay me where sad true lover never find my grave to weep there.